Okay, we are now ready for part four, the final part of creating a Google site. And really, today is just going to be focusing on the extras. Once you have time to breathe with all the craziness that is going on, if you want to really embellish your Google site and add some extra, just kind of flair to it, or make it more easy to navigate, or add something organizational such as a Google Calendar for your students, you can do that. Now, we all know that a Google Calendar is included with our Google Classroom. So maybe you are just making a calendar that your parents can access in order to see what's going on in the classroom. So let's start with this first point here. We're going to talk about how to add an announcement banner to Google Sites. And I believe that this is something that is fairly new that they've added. And hey, I would encourage you, especially our advanced people out there, are kind of our trailblazers in technology integration. If you see something that I'm not highlighting that you think the average teacher out there should want to know about adding to their Google site, please let me know, because we definitely want to highlight that, or even if you have something that you'd like to lead some professional development or training on, please let us know. Okay, so I'm going into my sample site right here. Again, in part 1, 2, 3, and now in 4, I'm using the Eastside Nurse's Office as my sample site, sample topic to create a site with. And the first thing I want to talk about is something pretty new, and it's under the settings cog. Okay, if you click on that, you'll see lots of options. We've talked about the navigation, changing it from the top to the side, color at the top. You could add an image, different analytics if you want to see how often your website is being visited, viewer tools, you can see anchor links, things like that. But what I want to talk about is an announcement banner, which is kind of a cool thing that you can add as your school year moves on. If you have something you really want to highlight, whoever visits that website, you could add a banner up at the top. Now, in order to get started, you want to click that the banner is going to show as opposed to being hidden. You can choose the banner color, which is kind of cool. So maybe I want to choose kind of this yellow for it to stand out. And something I think of that pops into my mind, if we're talking about the nurse's office, it might be get your medical form in today. So I'm going to put that message. Let's do medical forms due by August 31st. Okay, something like that. Now, you can also add, instead of a message, an actual button that goes somewhere. So let's say we want to link to medical form. And let's say, for example, in my drive, I'm just going to pull any PDF that I can find here. Here we go. Let's use this one right here, this 47 fill in the blanks PDF. Let's say, for example, that this is my medical form. Okay. I can find that medical form. Now, again, we talked about doing a folder that is your website folder that's already preset the share settings to public on the web. You could certainly put that in there, but since I'm just doing it on the fly, I'm going to right click on this. So if I right click on this, okay, and go to my share settings, remember that you always want to change that from restricted to anyone with the link so that anyone on the internet can view that. And I'm going to copy that link to that PDF. Okay, let's pretend again that PDF is our medical form that needs to be turned in. I'm going to go right back here. I'm going to paste that link. Okay, and maybe I want that link to open up in a new tab for my parents. So again, went to the settings cog. I went to announcement banner, medical forms due by August 31st, my button label, and my link. Okay, and as I scroll down, I can choose if I want that to appear just on the home page or on all pages. Let's say I want to make sure they see it any page that they are. I'm going to select that. And since I have it turned on, I'm ready to go. And we'll see what happens here. Okay, so now you can see no matter what page I'm on, this appears at the top. Medical forms due by August 31st. Here's my button that goes out to my medical form. And again, I've set that link to public on the web. Let's view it as if it's a live website. We're going to do the preview here. So pretty cool. Parents can directly click on that and it takes them right to that link. And of course, this is just something that I pulled up. But I really love that idea. So throughout the year, you could have, don't forget to study for Friday's midterm and have a review link there. Parents, don't forget to sign this form for the field trip, have the field trip form link there. Think of any sort of announcement that you want parents as well as students to have easy access to. You can put that announcement banner right there, front and center. Again, going back over it, settings cog, announcement banner, and there's where you fill out that information. Let's say that the week is passed and now it's September 1st. I don't want that banner anymore. All I have to do is click to off. And once you do that, just a big warning, it goes away. And then also, actually, no, that's good. I'm just kidding. I was mistaken. It's all still there. So maybe you have something that's recurring, but you just change the date. If you turn it to off, all you have to do is go in there and change the date. Okay, so really cool thing, announcement banner. Second thing I want to talk about are buttons for navigation. And that's one of the new things under insert here that has been added by Google, and that's button right here. So let's say that I want to insert a button. So couple of things. You could have a button that links to a document. You could have a button that actually links to one of your pages. So let's do both of those. So again, let's go for medical form. Okay. And again, I still have my link copied from that PDF that I had. I changed it to anybody with the link can see it. I've copied that link and I'm going to put that link right here. Okay. So I've got this medical form button here. It looks really nice. Like everything else in Google, you can stretch it out if you want to. You can center it on the page wherever you would like. You could have several buttons all around this to link out to things. If we want to see what it looks like once the website is published, looks just like this. Parents click on that and it takes them directly to the form. Another option that you could do with the buttons is you could actually use it, and I'm going to go back to my homepage here as a navigational tool. So let's say that instead of having these tabs that go to different pages up top, I actually just want a button here off my homepage. So I don't really want all these different pages. I just want one main landing page with buttons that take the parents to all these different things. I could do that. Let's use procedures for parents, for example. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to delete this out for right now. Double click, and I'm going to add, not a text box, actually, I'm not going to double click. I'm going to select button right here. Okay, so I'm going to do procedures for parents. Okay, all right. And notice if I go to click the link here, I could paste a link that I have that goes out to something, or I can actually, once I click on here, it gives me the option to link to different pages in the site. So I'm going to link to procedures for parents and insert that. Okay. I'm going to stretch that out so we can see the entire button. Okay. So now you have a couple of options. You could leave your navigational pages up here, as well as have this button down here where it says procedures for parents. I'm going to make that big so you can see it. Okay, so we've got this nice button right here, procedures for parents, that takes me directly there. Or let's say I actually don't want that there. I just want the button, and that's the only way to get to procedures for parents. Okay. What I could do is under pages, find procedures for parents, click on the three dots next to it, And remember, we always say 3 dots in Google means lots more options. One of the options is to hide this from navigation, okay? So it's there, it's ready for you to build on that page. You can still add things to that to that page. But what we've done is we've taken it away. Now you can see it's gone from the actual navigation. So the only way to get to procedures from parents is from the home page from this little button right here, okay? So there's my procedures for parents button. And I think my screencastify video is hiding it. But you can see that you could click on that right there and it takes you directly there. So that's another option. If you prefer to just maybe have a home page, you could go through and you could add buttons for all of these different pages, medical forms, Eastside website, and just simply have those buttons there. And again, just go back and as we did before, just hide that from navigation. If you change your mind, it's as simple as clicking on those 3 dots and now doing show and navigation. And now we can see we've got the procedures for parents button as well as procedures for parents up top. So just another option there if you prefer to add a pretty little button as opposed to maybe adding, you could also do a text box. This is totally up to you, what you like, what you think is more aesthetically pleasing there. And you can see with the text box as well, I still have that link option. Okay, so I could certainly link and do the exact same thing there. And it actually gives me an underlined link there. So again, just whatever you prefer as far as how that looks in the navigation there. Let's look here so we can see how that looks. This versus a button. Okay. All right. Let's go to our third topic, which is a photo carousel. So let's say that you want a nice little display of stuff that's been going on in your classroom or certain photos that you may have for the nurse's office. Okay. Photo carousel is under the insert option right here, image carousel. And the first thing I would say is before you go to insert it, you want to have a nice folder ready with all of the images ready to go for you. Okay. So I'm going to go into my drive and show you where I have this nice little folder ready to go. Okay, so you can see in my Google Drive, if I scroll down to the nice folder that I created in session 2, the website nurse's office, okay? Within that folder, I have created another folder because remember that one's already set to public on the web where anybody can see it. And within that folder, I have created a nice little folder of photos called EHS photos. Okay. So now when I'm back here on my nurse's office page and I'm ready to insert them as an image carousel, I'm going to click on that. Notice that it says a carousel must have at least 2 images. It makes sense. If it's going to flip through, you have to have at least 2 images. So I'm going to upload some images, and I'm actually going to go into my Google Drive. Under my drive, I'm going to scroll down until I find website nurse's office. There it is. And here's my EHS photos folder. Okay. And once I double click on that, you could go through and select them one at a time. But a trick to know as well is that if you hold down the control button, you click on the first picture, hold down the control button, and then the last picture, it will allow you to select specific photos. Okay. Or let's say you want all of them. You click on the first picture, you hold down the shift button, click on the last one, and it selects all of the photos. Okay, so I want all 4 of those photos for my image carousel. I'm going to click open, and you can see it's going to think for a minute and upload those photos. I'm going to pause for just a second while it does that. Okay, so that just took a second. All 4 photos are there. If you want to add more, you can, and I'm ready to insert. Once you click on insert, remember the same options apply. As always, you have your dots all around it, so you could stretch it out a little bit more. You can make that larger if you wanted to. Remember that it may distort the picture a little bit if you are stretching it horizontally or vertically. So you may want to just go for that corner tab and stretch it out in the same dimensions. Okay, I can put it in the center if I want to. And you can see these little dots at the bottom are going to represent the different 4 photos that I've included. If I go to my preview, I can now see what this will look like. If I scroll down, and there is my image carousel. I can click through these photos if I'm a parent or a teacher looking at the website. Just a reminder, as a media specialist, remember you are building a website, so um, make sure that you are not posting names, grades, things like that, personal information. Especially, you always want to be careful if you're including photos of students there. Okay, but a great idea to add an image carousel. All right, we are ready for the third thing, which is adding a Google Calendar to your site. Again, as I mentioned before, if you have a Google Classroom, you do have a Google Calendar that is built into that Google Classroom ready to go, whether you know that or not. So, that being said, if you are a classroom teacher and you are simply wanting to connect, maybe this is your Google site for Chemistry 1, or maybe you want to include all of your calendars, you could certainly create a page, which would be, calendars for classes. Okay. And you could insert all of your calendars for those various Google Classroom classes, especially if you are adding due dates and whatnot, those will appear. So once I go to the insert page, right here underneath image carousel and button, which we've talked about today, you will find calendar. It will list all of your calendars. I do have a library aid. So for example, here's my Google Classroom connected to for that library aid. So if I were to click on that and insert that, it would insert the calendar for that classroom. Let's say, for example, I also am teaching something else. I could go in and insert that calendar as well. Okay, so let's just choose, this is a test classroom that I have, or for example, my technology coach schedule. You could do as many calendars as you like. Once you insert those calendars, you can drag them and place them anywhere you want to. You can stretch them out as we've seen before. And you can also set whether you want it to be viewed as a week, month, or the agenda schedule, which is similar to what you see on the front of the Eastside website. Under settings is where you can change those things. So whether or not you want the title to show, the date, etc. Okay, and right here under view mode, let's say I like that monthly view. I'm going to go ahead and select that for both of them. Again, clicking on the actual calendar. Once I do that, the settings cog pops up, and I'm going to change both of those to the monthly view. Okay, so a way to connect your calendar. Just so you know, again, you're going to have to click that publish button in order for any of these to show up, whether you've added an announcement banner, you've added a photo carousel, or a Google Calendar. The final step is always, there's no save button, but for Google Sites Publish, it's kind of like the save button. You would have to click that publish button in order for those changes to show up. So you can see I updated procedures for parents, I added calendars for classes, and I'm going to publish all those changes. Okay, and once I do, those will show up on my live website. Another side note before I leave you about the calendar is that you would have to go into manually to add dates to those. For example, let's talk about this test calendar. All right, so if I go into my little waffle symbol here and I go into calendars. Okay, so once I'm in my Google Calendars, you might have several ones that are selected. As you can see, I have like 10 different calendars. So I am going to unselect all of these, okay? And I'm going to use this high school aid class that as you can see, I embedded right here as my example, okay? So I'm going to click on just it because that's the one that I want to do. And let's say that I'm going to add on the 24th that I'm going to have a, sorry, it kicked me out there. Let's go back here. On the 24th that I am going to have a quiz. Okay. So quiz on unit 3. Okay. Couple of things. You could add this over several days if you wanted to, not just one day. You could add a specific time or have it all day. You could certainly add a Google Meet link if you wanted to, if you had a nicknamed Google Meet assigned for that. You could add a description or attachment. So that could even be a link out to a Google Doc, maybe for a review sheet. I always like to click on more options so that I can see the full view. Okay, so for example, again, you could change to a repeating assignment. You could pick a specific time if you wanted to. And again, here's where you can include a link or description. And once I click save, it will automatically, I don't have to publish the website. Once I've edited my calendar, I'm going to go back and you'll see that it will show up here on the 24th as a quiz. So I'm over here, quiz on unit 3. I'm making sure it's that teacher aid classroom. I'm going to click save. Okay. Coming back over here, I'm going to refresh. And we see now on the 24th, we have that quiz on unit 3. They could actually see the live details. If you have added links or things like that, it will take them back to the website, okay? Even in the preview, the edit form, you won't see those dates added. But as you go to the actual live website, again, as you add them to your Google Calendar, you don't have to press publish. They will automatically populate on that website via the Google Calendar app. Okay. All right. Hopefully that answered your questions about adding an announcement banner, buttons for navigation, a photo carousel, and adding a Google Calendar. Again, as always, my email is emolin@greenville.k12.sc.us. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks so much.